All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
I'm Shane, and we'll be keeping this one to 5.
Hey, this is up. This episode's already bound to bust, so I want to hear what Shane has to say. One of his
Ooh,
favorite players.
nicely done. So this is a guy, so Rondale Moore. He was taken in the first half of the second round and traditional like 12 team super flexes, and has definitely fallen on his face, at least in terms of production. But do we think he's got a future, or is he going to be a bust, Shane? What do you say?
So the best thing I can say about Rondale Moore is that he had a really young breakout age in college, and that's what you're touting after their rookie season, and that alone, probably not a great rookie year. I think it's safe to say that he was an utter and dismal, complete, abject failure by any measure. If I could trade him for whatever I drafted for last year, I would do that. Even if I have to take a slight loss, if I drafted him at 203 and someone offered me the 207 this year, I'd say, okay, good deal. Thank you. Bye. We've talked about wide receivers before that don't hit thresholds. He had one good game. Is that right? One good game in week 2 when it looked like everything was going to be great and we were happy, and then nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he had 11 catches for 172 yards in his first 2 games, and then finished the year with only 54 catches and 435 yards. So not terrible when you look at the totals, but then when you look at, I mean, if you remember, his value was actually peaked, or it skyrocketed after the first couple games. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's hit. Go buy. I mean, a lot of people I even respect out there were like, buy at the same price you drafted him at. Pay 2 seconds to get him just because, he's already hit. Look, he's hit in the first 2 games. Like, you don't want to fall behind and miss out on an Amon-Ra St. Brown like rookie season, right? Like, if you just took his numbers and put them on Rondale Moore, we'd be sitting here debating, is he a wide receiver 2 or better in Dynasty? Instead, wide receiver 78 on the season in points per game. Very curious. We look at a guy like, if you ask people's opinion on Twitter about this player, it would probably be like 97% people would say, oh, thumbs down, this guy sucks. I don't even want him. He's not worth a third. McCole Hardman outscored Rondale Moore by a point per game this year. So, I mean, if you look at like McCole Hardman and you go, was he good this year? And you're like, well, no, I didn't want him. And you're like, well, he was better than Rondale Moore. There's not much you can do with him. I think the idea that Shane said is if you can just get the reset button on Rondale, like just draft another wide receiver 8 in this class, I'm good. Give me anybody that's in like that second or third round wide receiver range this year. I'll take the player and I'll just hope that I get something a little better. But I do think we're probably coming up on a breaking point for him where it's going to be hard to cash out if you don't do it in the next 2 months. Chase Edmonds, Zach Ertz, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, all are free agents. Now, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys comes back, but that's like a lot of players that are commanding targets in his offense over Rondale Moore. And there may be, some steam. If all those guys leave, like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to blow up. But I think what Shane said is accurate. Like what he did this year, he's basically being used as like he's basically being used like Chris Thompson almost. Like that's what he, you know what I mean? That's what he is. And so that's not a wide receiver. I mean, he's going to be a manufactured touch player his whole career. And he could be good, make a lot of explosive plays, but yeah, give me the reset button. Let me draft a real receiver instead of him.
So let's see if I can phrase this question properly. Okay, so 2022 first, we don't like the late 22 first, and we would be more than happy to move them for 23 first. Just punt it to 2023. Where's the line in 2022 to where, all right, let's say you took Rondale Moore at 203. Do you want to try to get the 204, 205 max? And then if you can't get those, you're getting a 23 second, or would you rather just spam for 23 seconds right off the bat?
Any second.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a plethora of receivers. Some of them, if I have to pick right now, there's going to be some guys where I'm like, I'm not sure if that guy's going to get the draft capital. So if he ends up going in the 5th round, I don't want to have to commit right now. But I'm confident you're going to see 10 receivers go in the first 3 rounds. So if you're telling me I can get a early 3rd, late 2nd round receiver, maybe I don't like his profile as much as Rondale, but I think there's going to be 10 receivers that kind of occupy that territory of rookie drafts, right? there's probably going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Then there's going to be 8 to 9 running backs. And it's going to be like we talked about the other day. It's going to be a bunch of 3rd round running backs. But like if you told me right now I can trade Rondale Moore for Alexander Madison or Tony Pollard, you know what I mean? Like that deal intrigues me because it's like I'd rather flip my roster construction with these wide receiver 5, 6, 7 players on my team to more usable during the season, even if they're a handcuff. And I think there's going to be a lot of handcuffs. So I think that just numbers line up where, man, give me any like top 20 pick easily for Rondale and just get out.
Rondale Moore in the 208 for the 201. Do you think he has enough juice to do that?
He might in the offseason when DeAndre Hopkins has to go to a retirement home and AJ Green wanders off the freeway, and Zach Ertz, also wanders off the freeway searching for AJ Green.
Honestly, I think the 201 and the 205, I would actually make that deal the other side, and I would take the 205 and the Rondale side, and then immediately try to pivot off to Rondale for one other piece. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a huge difference in June or in January, the 201 and the 205. Now, when we get on the clock and you're thinking like you already know the tiers, that may be a massive tier break where you're like, hell yeah, I'll add to him to get up 4 spots because that could be literally the difference between 2 tiers. So